It's Friday, March 27th, the last Friday of Q1 2026. And a week ago, on Friday, March 20th, I shared this blog post and I gave my downside targets for the E-mini S&P 500 futures. And right now, we are at those levels. So I'm going to share an update using price action, market timing, and momentum on the ES with how do you approach when you're actually at your downside targets? What do you do if the market turns around? What do you do if the market moves on ahead lower? So that we can all prepare for our entrance into April. So let's go ahead and look at the live charts. So this is that blog post chart, but now live to a week later after I published it. So here's the E-mini S&P 500 futures on the weekly time frame. We've already taken out the first support, 6456.25, and I'm just going to go move the label back towards where the high was, but change it to gray. And then I'm going to just take that line off, okay? Because I think that the way we move below that, that's not really significant anymore. What's more significant is look at this, guys, 6419.00. That was my downside target. Right now, as of this moment, we're hanging out at 6419.25. It's so far very short-term respecting the level. Now, I'm going to go and take this to the daily chart, okay? So I'm just going to switch over to a daily time frame. And I had those same levels drawn there, so I'm going to remove the first one. And we're going to now look at this here, and you can see that the market's just hovering right above it. The RSI power zones on the daily chart are back down in the bear support power zone. They're finally touching it. They haven't since last Friday. Now I'm going to change this chart to a 60-minute time frame. I'm going to remove the analysis that I don't think I really need on here at the moment. I'm just focused on how do I approach this in the short term. Now, it is 2:38 p.m. Eastern as of me capturing this video. You'll see it soon after. And that means that this is the later half of the day. Now, there are strategies out there where you can trade that last hour of the day, 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern, zero DT options and so many other things. And if you love that, that's for you. I am a morning gal, so I trade E-mini S&P 500 futures when I do, early in the day. And so this is more just a mental prep for what's ahead, okay? I'm not gonna make a trade suggestion now. If I were trying to get my charts ready for this session ahead, the first thing I'd look at is, well, what's shaping the recent down move? And there's two levels here. There's the most recent high on the bar basis, so this doji candle that formed into noon Eastern. And then there's the actual high that's shaping this whole push lower, and that is here from 2 a.m. So you can see that those are important distinctions in the kind of resistance, right? One is near term and one is further out. But if I am going to be monitoring this and seeing if whether today or in Sunday's session, heading into Monday, things actually stabilize, well, I already have my resistance mapped out, okay? So the first thing you want to do when a market's trading lower into your target levels or into targets that I've given you and you can see, whoa, it's actually holding, is to figure out, well, what do I want to look for in the upside? And the thing is, just because a market trades to our support levels doesn't mean it's going to stop going down there, unfortunately. So the next piece is to look at, well, what lies ahead? So on this chart, I'm going to go back to the daily time frame, and I'm actually going to go look back in the past. Now, on a daily contract chart of futures, what's going to happen is when you look at the early contract history, you're going to have all these like hash marks. These are limit days. It's going to be harder to identify what's significant. This is where I jump back to the weekly chart, and here I am going to look at what levels are giving me support. So I'm going to go to the level that I identified as support. It's technically still holding, and then I'm going to take my eyeballs and move back. And the next significant level I see is from this week ending June 20th at 6167. So I'm not saying we're headed there, but I am saying that if things really push below the 6419 we're at, I wouldn't be surprised if we get to that week's range. So that includes the low I just marked off, as well as the old high from that week. So that's the next zone of support to monitor, 6242.75 and 6167.00 if futures keep pushing below 6419, okay? Notice that if that occurs, yeah, that's not looking good and get people a little freaked out, I get it. But it will also finally allow the weekly RSI power zones to get to the bear support territory. And the last time that happened was back when we had Liberation Day and all the tariff news. So there was a push lower, right? Lots of freaking out, just like we're kind of freaking out now with the Iran war, and rightfully so because of all the uncertainty it brings. But then soon after that came a significant buying opportunity. I'm not saying that's happening right now. I'm saying you got to watch and you got to keep tabs on things. And remember that when it looks like hope is lost and everybody's throwing in the towel, that's usually when the bottom could be approaching. So monitor the nearby resistance levels. We've done that. Look at what your next downside targets would be. And then from there, you just let the price action tell you what's about to unfold. So that's my take on the ES futures heading into a Friday close. We'll see what happens. I'll be there sharing my insights in my ES futures outlook skinny in the mini report back on Monday. If you found value in this video on the ES analysis or on the technical reminders or both, go ahead and hit that like button and I'll catch you in my next video.